Hi Taurus, welcome back to Key Wisdom Tarot. My name is Ruth and I'm your Reiki Master and Tarot Reader. This Taurus is your general bi-weekly reading for the time between the 20th of February and the 5th of March. I will draw 6 cards in the first instance. The first 3 cards are going to relate to this last week in February, and the second 3 cards are going to relate to this first week in March. I've already meditated and shuffled. I'll do a little bit more of that on camera and then we'll get started. Bear with me a second. Let me just make sure. Okay, these are your clarifying cards. I will know when they are ready to be selected. Some of them obviously they place themselves really. I read intuitively, so I always face the cards face down because I can get very distracted with the energy, and I've got I've already got a vibe of what your reading is about. Okay, my darlings, this is the card at the base of your reading. What a lovely cards I have at the base of your reading. Okay, the card at the base of the reading really relates to the overall energy or perspective or lesson that you're going to be engaging with in this time period. Okay, and that is the 4 of Wands for you. So this is for shorthand known as the marriage card. And that's because all the 4s are talk about different foundations and structures in our lives. So the 4 of Wands talks about the things that we need in our lives to feel, you know, motivated, to feel engaged, you know, whatever it is you need in your life that makes you feel good, that makes you feel happy, that makes you feel content, that makes you feel fulfilled. That is represented by the 4 of Wands, and that is why we call this a marriage card. It can relate to marriage directly. So some of you could be you're definitely thinking about commitments and relationships. Now it could be commitments in relationships. You could be thinking about marriage over this next couple of weeks. You could be thinking about making a commitment. When I was shuffling the cards though, and I'm smiling a little bit because there's a lot that you want to say this month, Taurus. There seems to be a lot that you want to say, and it might have been that you've wanted to say this for some time and you've not said it. Some of you, I'm smiling because it's good energy actually, to be fair, it's nice energy, and it could be that some of you have wanted to get married. You know, you've been in a relationship for a long time, or you know, or whatever. You're in a committed relationship, and then you've wanted to get married for, you know, and it could be that it happens in this time, or that you start having those type of conversations, or that type of thing. So there's a lot you've got a lot to say though. Anyway, okay, let's have a look then first of all at these cards. So this is the first card, and that was the clarifier. Okay, so we've got the 10 of Swords here first of all. So this is this week, and the 10 of, I'm not surprised to see this week. We've just had the full moon, and you know, the new moon is in Taurus Pisces right now. Okay, and this time is about coming into realizations, not even realizations, like seeing things that we've maybe not even looked at for a long time, recognizing that there's things that we hold on to. There's ways of looking at other people, or ways of thinking about situations that we've just been stuck with. You've been thinking that way for such a long time now, and it's got to the point where it's exhausting. Now it might be that it could be a a sense of betrayal. I don't really get that. I get it really that you have been punishing yourself in your mind, Taurus. I get that you have been thinking yourself in knots, really, and you've been thinking that everything's bad, they're bad, he's bad, she's bad, this is bad, my life's bad, I'm bad. It's kind of like all these things that you think about yourself, the negative thoughts and negativeness, and it's like it's got to the point now where you have to start thinking in a different way, and it's your choice with the number 10. You can some people stay at number 10 forever. They never cross that threshold. They always just think that way about themselves or about their lives. They think that this is how I'm going to be, this is who I am. But it's not the case. But you've got to choose to think differently. And, you know, it's to do with the Three of Swords here. It's to do with this situation. So for some of you, it could be feelings of betrayal. It's interesting. You know, maybe looking at this card as well, some of you might have been betrayed in a marriage or in a long-term relationship, or felt a sense of betrayal in your relationship. This could just indicate a difficult relationship as well. It could indicate that you are stuck in a relationship that is not, that makes you feel like this, that makes you feel fed up, that makes you feel anxious, that makes you feel afraid, and that makes you feel inadequate, that makes you feel wounded, you know, that makes you feel like you can't get out of this situation. That is what it could be for some of you, actually. For others of you, this is just, you're single, you've been single for some time or whatever, or separated for some time, and this is the reason you've been single, and this is the reason you've been separated. And the reason you've been single and separated, or on your own or isolated for a long time, is because of how you think about yourself, and it's because of how this event, so an event that's disempowering, this event can still make you feel. So for example, the example I always give, you know, your parents divorced when you were a child, and you don't trust people. It's hard for you to trust people. You think that all men or all women are no good, and you think that no relationships ever work, and you think that, you know, because you're from damaged goods, that you're damaged goods. What, you know what I mean? It's that, this is that energy. This is it. And it gets in the way of this. It gets in the way of the type of security that you do want, the type of security that you deserve, just like everybody else, every other human life on this planet. We all deserve love, joy, happiness, contentment, fulfillment, every single one of us. And you've been telling yourself and thinking and believing that you don't, and believing possibly that you don't, for many, many, many years, actually. Okay, so that's whether you're in a relationship or not. So let's have a look then as we move through this week in, wow, good, okay, excellent. Oh, do you know, I wasn't going to, but I think that is, yeah, this is related to this. We've got the Magician next. Okay, so this is really good. Number 1 in the Major Arcana, so we've got a new beginning, we've got a new start now, haven't we? Now obviously 0 is the first, or the Fool card is the first card in the Major Arcana, and there you go, that's your number 10. You've got to choose to walk through that. You've got to choose to walk through that portal. You've got to choose to say, okay, I'm not going to think this way anymore. I am not going to think this way anymore. And you don't know necessarily what's going to come next. That's a Fool. But you know that you're not going to stay there any longer. You're not going to keep telling yourself that you're a piece of shit, that you're a waste of space, that you're no good, that you know, you can't trust anybody, that you're useless, that you're damaged goods. You're not going to believe that's rubbish anymore. This is you actually saying, okay, it's time to do something differently. And we don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to turn out. But you ain't staying there anymore. That's for sure. So that's a positive thing. Excellent. We've got 3. So we've got this in support of. So this is suggestive potentially of some sort of link to the past. And I say that because you've already done some work to get to this point. Clearly. You've carried all this round with you for the last how many years, who knows, how many months, who knows. I mean, there was an example that I always talk about this dude on TV, we're talking about, it was one of those CCTV programs, you know, when people get broken into, and his shop got broken into, and he was saying, you know, building the business back up after that year was hard, and he used the example, he said, it's like, you know, you've got a ship, you know, you're sort of dragging the ship to the water, and dragging the ship to the water, he said, is so hard. He said, but once you get to the water, it's plain sailing. Everything just goes. And when he said that when he was talking about his, his life, etc., this image came to mind. I was like, that is literally the Three of Wands. It's that energy of, we have been struggling, man, to get here, man. To get to it. You've carried it on your back, man. You've gone all the way up the road. You've been churning. You've been carrying all this stuff around with you. And then suddenly, you get to the beach, you get to the water, and the boat just, you take the weight off. That's this energy of these cards that we see in front of us so far. It's this energy of, it's time. We don't know what we don't know what's going to come. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know that we've worked to get to this point, to feel better, to think more positively, to think more truthfully about ourselves, our situations, our lives. So whatever comes is better than this. Whatever is to come is better, because we're in a new place. That's these energies. So you've created an opportunity for yourself here, an opportunity of new energies coming through, of feeling almost like a reward. It might be that you're rewarded by, as soon as you stop thinking like this and you actually realise that you think like this and you overcome this, it might be that you're ready to sort of get into a relationship if you're single and you've been single for some time. Okay, we've got the energy of the Page of Swords. Now, the Page of Swords is related to, it's air energy again. So like these two cards, thoughts, minds, our clarity, our communication, what we say, what we think, what we allow ourselves to say, what we allow ourselves to think, our truth, speaking our truth. Now, the Page of Swords is the card of diligence. It's that energy used in a very diligent way. So when we say speaking our truth, it's about, being meticulous, being very meticulous in using and applying your logic and your reason and the things that you've learned and the things that you now know about yourself. And, it's about applying that really to find out more about yourself, or to find out more about the type of life or situation that you do want to engage with. They call this a stalker card because of the diligence of this energy, because of the relentless almost search. Bear with me a second. The relentless search for truth, the relentless search for information, the relentless search for clarity. This is this energy here. It's you wanting to know, you wanting to understand, you wanting to speak, you wanting to do, you wanting to find out. You've got a lot to say, Taurus, this month or this next couple of weeks. You've got a lot to say, and you're not gonna just waste your words. You're gonna speak from the truth of you, the soul of you, the real you. And yeah, we've got this energy of the Queen of Wands just to support this energy. So this is a card of confidence. This is about inner confidence, inner motivation, inner wisdom. It's about understanding how you want to express yourself and feeling confident in that expression. It's related also to dreams and to synchronicities are the wands, the King and Queen of Wands, because they're related to our solar plexus, our sacral chakra, our second chakra, which is really the seat of our intense experiences and intense joy and our intense fear. And we can master these things because with the Queen of and the King of Wands, because we have an understanding. We go back to responding and to listening to ourselves and to our souls. I mean, I personally think that the solar plexus is the soul, but not the solar plexus. The sacral chakra is the soul, but is the seat of the soul, if you will. And I've always thought that since I was a little girl. And not that I knew what a sacral chakra was, but anyway, whatever. I just made that link when I was a very little girl, and it's never left me, actually. And the more I learn, the more I think that is where you need to listen. When people talk about a gut reaction, a gut feeling, it's because it's not just a made up thing. That's a real thing, and that's where your, anyway, sacral chakra is. So, sacral chakra. Anyway, so This is confidence, but you're not. This is active, so this might be you. We call this a stalker card because of the diligence and the attention to detail and the focus of the Page of Swords. We call it the stalker card. So it could be that you're looking at somebody or for somebody, or trying to get yourself out there again. You want to go on dates. You might be getting out there online on Tinder or whatever it is these kids use nowadays. But there's a confidence coming. There's a confidence coming through. There's a confidence, and there's a truth, and there's a realness. And you've created the opportunity for yourself. I've got hiccups. Excuse me. You've created the opportunity for yourself because you now get to the point where you actually see, I cannot keep telling myself that I'm a piece of shit, that I'm useless, that I'm no good, that I can't keep believing that all men are bastards, and whatever, you know, whatever it's for you with the Ten of Swords, you're starting to realise, and that gives you confidence, you know, you're starting to know yourself, you're starting to know your mind, and that does give us all confidence when we do that. This card wants to come out, so I'm going to put that there until I know. I think it must be linked to this one. We've got the Moon card, so this is going into March now. We've got the Moon card. Now, the Moon card is related to the sign of Pisces, so it's water, and as you know, it's Pisces season. Right now, so you see how I just completely stopped dead there, and this happens sometimes in a personal reading, and I'll say to the people, I'll say to the client, I'll say the reason sometimes when the Moon card, obviously we know the meaning of the Moon card, it's about secrets revealed, things hidden, deep emotions, intuition, things that we've carried around with us for a long time being revealed, coming up to the surface, our truths being revealed to ourselves, us understanding and engaging with our emotions finally, and blah blah blah. That's the meaning of the Moon card. But sometimes, and this happens, as I said, in personal readings, this energy indicates something that you don't want to face up to, something that you have suppressed within yourself. And when I was, honestly, I wish one day I could tell you how it works, how a tarot reading works, and how we get the information, or how I won't speak for anyone else. I wish I could explain it to you, because it's a very sort of multi-sensory experience. As soon as I turned this card over, everything just literally just was like gone, like black, like blank. And this is suggesting to me, Taurus, that there is something that you have blanked. You have blanked something out. You've blanked out a feeling, an emotion, a person, a memory, a desire, a dream, something, a truth. This is like a darkness, and not a darkness as in like evil darkness. I mean a darkness as in there is no information. We cannot see a thing, and that's because you have suppressed this for so long, or you have blanked this for so long. And this is a very positive combination, because the thing that you have blanked for so long, even it might be, oh, I don't know, it's hard. It's like it might be a memory. Do you know, like, let me say this. I'm going to give you an example, random example, but I'm going to give you one. Okay, just imagine you were a little child, okay, and there was a house at the end of the road that you weren't meant to knock on the door. When you were a child, the parents always said, no, don't knock on that door, boogeyman, whatever. And one day, you were a child, you were brave, your friends did, you knocked on the door. And the door opens. And what was in front of you? Now, ever since that day, you were changed. You were a changed boy, you were a changed girl, and you grew up and you lived your life. And it's 30 years later, and you see your friends again, and they say, do you remember? And no matter what you do, you cannot remember what happened when the door opened. You can't see it. You can't remember, but you just know that it was something that changed you. Now, you can't remember what was behind that door. Was it a man or a woman or an animal, or was it a joke, or were they nice? Or you can't remember. Now, the memory's there, clearly, but you can't see it. This is you finally getting to see that memory. This is you having that vision again, knocking on that door, the door opening, and you remembering that it was a sweet little old lady, and that you were so you had so much empathy for this sweet little old lady that you just felt so mean, and when you for knocking on the door and for being silly, and when you left and you went round and your friend said, oh, what was it like, and you made up this huge story of it being, I don't know, some peg leg or whatever, something scary that scares kids when you're that young, like, I don't know, like on Goonies or whatever. And I meant like a Pirate Pete, anyway. And but really it was a complete, and you'd forgotten completely that you'd made up this story to the friends, and that but you'd always remembered that you learned something that day, and it was never to judge people, and it was never to make up stories or whatever, yeah? And it's like this, I don't know where that came from, but these two cards here are those memories coming to fruition. It's you remembering those things, remembering how you were at that time, remembering. And even though you worry, you don't want to remember who you were, you don't want to remember what you saw, even though you worry about it, this is finally coming out. This is the dark night of the soul with the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords, it's like, finally these things are being revealed to you. Finally you can see the things that you've been hiding from yourself, or the things that have been hidden from you. You can finally see them. You can finally recognise them and reconcile them. And it seems like these things are all related really to home, family, marriage, commitments. There's been something that has maybe stopped you from having a commitment, or maybe kept you in a commitment, and you don't really truly want to be in that commitment, or something that's made you've always been single and you've never really questioned it, or whatever it is for you as an individual person. Okay, I try to come up with these examples, but it's obviously it's all everyone's individual, so it's up to you. I don't know what happened in your life, but these cards are positive because it means that you're going to start to finally see and to face up to some of the things that you've hidden from yourself, and this isn't really, I don't get a sense of other people, I don't get a sense of someone's hiding something from you, I don't get a sense of that. I get a sense that this is all about your progress, your spiritual progress, your spiritual growth. And by spiritual, I mean understanding of self, understanding of identity, how was that formed, understanding of perspective, understanding of your values, how were they formed. It's that type of thing that you're going through right now, that you're going through over this next couple of weeks. And it might mean that things change in a real way around you. Things might change in a real way around you. That's linked to that one, so let's have a look. Okay, so we've got the High Priestess now. So we've got cards of intuition. So look, with the Moon card here, which is about our emotions and intuition, and we've got the High Priestess, which obviously is one of my favourite cards, because I am the High Priestess, aren't I? As all tarot readers are, or we try to be. And it's also appears in one of my favourite films, darling, James Bond. The one with Jane Seymour. Anyway, whatever. You know the one I mean. The best one. I remember watching that when I was a little girl, and I was so mesmerised by tarot, even though everything she says is wrong about tarot. In what film is it now? Live and Let Die. And it's the best song as well. I think Live and Let Die is the best Bond film. The best song. Best, New Orleans, it's all interesting, isn't it? And I was a kid, and watching these films, and oh god, it was like your imagination just goes, doesn't it? But everything she said, I've since found out, is completely wrong and inaccurate, but that's Hollywood for you. Anyway, the High Priestess is all about that side of things, the esoteric side of things, your spirituality, your inner knowing, your inner wisdom, you know, you've got to trust yourself really to go through this journey, to come into these realizations and to speak your truth. It's like you are coming, I'm just noticed that. That's a very auspicious number. Beautiful, beautiful energy. It's like you are finally coming out of the dark. It's like you're finally starting to connect your emotions to your inner emotions, what you feel on the inside, to your actions on the outside. It's like we've got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's like you're finally starting to connect with your truth, yourself, and you realize that it doesn't matter if people think it's silly that you are a, I don't know, 7-foot man, burly man that cries. You know, that's stupidness, that people think that big men don't cry, or whatever the flipping stupid song is. I don't know. Big girls don't cry, whatever. Yeah, we do, and we should. And it's as if, even if you are a 7-foot, I don't know, rugby player, I don't know, whatever, big, I don't know, you realise, I'm going to cry, like, I'm, this is me, and it's like you realise the significance and the importance of actually all these parts of yourself, and not just this part of yourself that everyone else sees, that everyone else engages with. You realise how important it is for you to engage with this inner side of yourself, these emotions, this wisdom. Yeah, you start to appreciate yourself, you start to value who you are, and recognise that this is the person, the whole you is what you want to be in the world. You don't want to just be a half person anymore, where all people see is confidence, because that's not who you are. And it's like these realizations, you know, it's like it's moving you you're going through very subtle energies, actually. Sorry, it's beautiful, actually. And I tell you what, if you can, you know, have some time in meditation over this next couple of weeks, you'll be able to connect with the calmness that your soul is experiencing. Because even though all around it's crazy, you know, there's change going on and people think you're crazy, and, you know, you're stressing out, thinking, can I do this? Is this the right thing to do? If you can meditate, you'll be able to connect with, even though all this stuff is going on in your brain, you're going, oh my God, what's people thinking, and the judgments, and if I leave my job, and if I've got no purpose, whatever. If you can connect with that yourself and meditate, you'll realise that you're calm, that your soul is calm, because you're doing the right thing, you're going in the right direction, even though the worldly ways are telling you, and no, this is wrong, and everyone's judging you, and why are you going to leave your job when you've got nothing else to do, or you've got no money, and why are you going to be single, or why are you going to get into a relationship, whatever the thoughts and the things going on in your head. The calmness is beautiful. You're really starting a very important lesson in your life, a very important play, finding a place of self-acceptance. You know, you're starting to accept yourself, and that's a beautiful place to be. Believe me, you know, to actually say it's okay, like I'm okay, like I am okay, and that I is here. This is the I. This is the I that's you. You know, this soul part of yourself. You know, this, and obviously, but it's also on the outside as well, because this is like the same energy, if you will. This is like the outside, this is the inside. You know, we want that strong and that strength and that confidence and that value, putting value into yourself, putting time and energy and effort into you and into nurturing yourself. We want that, but we also want, and what that also means is looking internally and looking at, you know, the emotional side of your life and your intuition side of life, which is so significant to your success and to your stability and to your strength. And it might mean that some of you at this point are looking for, because you get to this place, you want a relationship, you want to start getting, you know, being married and making a proper commitment, but it's as if, you know, maybe it is connected to your parents, you know, your upbringing, your parents, you know, what you saw when you were little. Maybe this is what's hidden from you. Maybe you I don't know. I can't keep coming up with these examples, but you know, you get the thing. Like, there's something that's hidden from you that you had from yourself that you don't let yourself realize. You don't let yourself think. You don't let yourself believe. It's like, oh, I'm going to give you one last example before I turn this over, because we're going over on a tangent here. There's like, I watch a lot of these, not all the time, but I watch like crime drama, you know, like crime programs, yeah. And, you know, when they learn about psychopaths or people who've killed their wives or their husbands or whatever. And because I find them so fascinating, because what really annoys me is, one, when people say, oh, like, either they say, oh, he was the devil incarnate, or they say, I would never have guessed. And I always laugh at those people, because I think, one, no one's the devil incarnate. They're all just normal people like me and you, and some people kill. And that's why people are so shocked, because they think, oh my God, like, how can people do this? Listen, anyone can kill anyone, babe. I'm not, you know what I mean? I mean, not any, you know what I mean? You're not just going to go out and kill somebody, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, don't be expecting that everyone's perfect. But anyway, the saddest ones are when it's like children killing their parents, or like, you know, the son. So when I watched last week was a dad a son lived with, he was like in his 40s in the UK, and he lived with his mother, and she was retired, but she had a very full life. You know, she was like, I don't know, say in her 70s or 80s. I don't know, I can't remember her age. But, you know, she had lots of friends in the local area, and they'd go on like little trips and all get together. Anyway, he drank a lot, the son. And anyway, eventually they lived together, and the son brutally murdered his mother over 2 days. You know, oh God, it was awful. Anyway, and they say, the police officer, you know, the psychologist on these programs. I don't know why I'm telling you this, Taurus. You've probably turned off by now. But anyway, and the psychologist will say, you know, they didn't realise the codependency. You know, it's a codependent relationship, that mother and son, or that son and daughter, whatever, you know, that it's a codependent relationship. And it's like, that could be something similar to you. Now, I'm not saying you're going to kill your parents, and please don't, but I mean, like, it's like, you might not have realised that you were sort of like, even though your mum and dad were together and they were married and happily married, you, as the child, were the one that was the wife, or the husband, if you will. Like, you know, one of them was a drinker, and so you sort of took a lot of the responsibilities of the spouse, even though you were the child. And it's like coming into that realisation. That's what it's like. Now, I know that was a very long-winded way of saying it, but it's that type of thing with this moon and this 5 of swords, and this 9 of swords. But it's about realising how all this is connected, and really coming into a realisation that it was right in front of you when you were younger, but you didn't see it because you were a child. So you just grew up thinking that, well, yeah, like, of course, like, my dad's always drunk, so of course it's my job to, like, go to the theatre with my mum and to listen to my mum when she's upset about things. And no, it's not your job, actually. You did that. You were a child. You grew up in that environment, and that was not healthy for you. You were not protected in that environment. And it's like, you realising, even though you're really close to your mum, you love your mum, blah, 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 or you're close to your dad, whatever, it's like you realising, like, that was not fair for me. I should not have been put in that situation. And I love my mum, and I know that it was because it was hard for her and blah, blah, blah. But coming into that realisation, that type of realisation, I tell you what, is challenging to have that. Can I just say, this is all stuff I'm just coming out off the top of my head. None of this is my experience. None of this is my experience in my life. And obviously I would hope that no one obviously goes out and kills their... Obviously we're not saying that. I'm just saying... We don't realise how relationships can be codependent, or, you know, and it's that type of energy. It's like coming into that realisation of, you thought that everything was like normal, but actually it was actually a bit dysfunctional, and it did actually damage you, and you do still carry that round, and you need to actually nurture yourself in order to break through and overcome that challenge. Okay, that's it. That last way. It was worth the wait, wasn't it? It was worth the wait. Hey, oh, tiny. It was worth the wait. Now, sorry. For the long-windedness of that story, okay? But ultimately, this is what it brings you. You know, when we have truth, when we come into these realizations and we learn these things and we understand them, what it brings forth is this joy. It brings through a security that cannot be taken by anybody else, because you have exposed yourself. You have to yourself, you know, you have seen who you are. You have understood something about yourself. And actually, by understanding that, you take away these places within yourself that you do not look. You know, there's no corners left in your brain that you are scared to walk down anymore. And that is where the true security comes in, the true joy comes in. And that is the energy of the Ten of Cups. And what a beautiful, beautiful card to end on. I'm going to do actually a little preview video for this and say to you, I watched the end. Because some of you won't, but it's worth it, because even though I tell these stories and they seem outlandish or whatever, oh, come on then, Tiny Dog. Even though we tell these stories and they seem outlandish, some people will have actually gone through this, where there's a sort of a slight codependency with the parents, and they're with a child, and you know, they didn't realise that it was a codependent relationship and that they were taking the part of the spouse, and that, you know, there's all these things that can happen in life and in relationships. But coming into these realisations is really what provides us with security, provides us with truth, provides us with real true strength and joy. Okay, so Taurus, I hope you liked that reading. If you did like that reading, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share this video on your social media, on your Facebook page, on your WhatsApp with your friends if you think it will be valuable. Also, you can leave comments. I will read every single comment, and I will respond to them as well. And if you haven't yet, click my little head there. Hi. And it's not my head actually, is it? I can't remember. Anyway, click my little head if it's there. I know. You can subscribe and click the bell for notifications. I'll be uploading love readings for I'll be uploading love readings next week. So if you are interested in love, and if this is a love situation for you, then by all means check back then. Don't forget to read the astrology below, because I spend a lot of time doing that. So if you're interested in the astrology of the month, obviously read that information below. If you're interested in other things, meditation, mindfulness, anything other than tarot really, you can check out my key wisdom playlist, which will be linked at the end. And finally, those of you that are wanting personal readings, I've done a little video about personal readings, because I am limiting my appointments, because I get very busy, and then it becomes very hard to keep up with the channel and keep up with the readings. So I've done a little video just explaining that. Okay, so Taurus, that was a long one. That was a long one, wasn't it? Thank you so much for being here anyway. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Take care, my darlings. Bye.